Hello everyone, this is Adam Warlock and I will be presenting on behalf of group number 1, who also includes Alicia Zarwell, Bob Eastham, and Diaquil Fain. We chose the 1973 through 1975 recession, and I will be discussing the causes, the government actions, and the effects of this recession. One of the possible causes to this recession was the price of oil. OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, imposed drastic cuts on its export of petroleum to the developed nations of the world due to the American support to Israel during the 1973 Arab-Israeli War. This reduction in supply led to skyrocketing oil prices. For example, the Saudi Arabian oil went from $2.59 a barrel to $11.65 a barrel. The oil price shock put the United States economy under severe strain and led to inflation increasing beyond 10% per year and increasing interest rates. Other possible causes were related to U.S. government policies. For example, there was high government spending during the Vietnam War. In addition to the government spending, President Nixon instituted wage price controls. The price controls kept prices too high and reduced demand, and the wage controls kept wages too high, forcing businesses to lay off workers. The U.S. also printed additional money, leading to inflation, as there were too many dollars circulating for too few goods. Now we'll move on to the government responses, starting in 1973. The key factor to the response during the early stages of the economic downturn in 1973 was confusion. Too many influencing factors were coming together at one time, and their individual effects on the overall economy were unclear. Contributing to this confusion were a restrictive fiscal policy that did not curb inflation as planned, the oil embargo of late 1973, and the deregulation of wages and prices. This was a policy never imposed in peacetime before, thus there was the added uncertainty of the effects of their removal. Add to these the other factors which caused the economic slide, and the relatively slow reactions of fiscal policies, it is understandable why the policymakers were confused and unable to understand the true magnitude of the coming economic storm. There are some indicators that the federal government had no idea of what was coming and thus did not try to avoid it. For example, rapid growth was forecasted. The plan for 1973 was founded on the administration's belief that the economy would continue to grow at a rapid pace, while unemployment would drop and inflation would continue to slow. Additionally, there were other indicators, such as the focus on the federal budget. The economic plan for 1973 was focused almost entirely on the federal budget. There was no mention in the plan of the use of monetary policy measures to help with the problems of inflation and rising unemployment. And also, there was questioning of the validity of leading indicators, economic indicators. In a paper for the Brookings Institute by Saul Hymans, there was discussion among leading economists of the time as to the value of the leading economic indicators to predict upturns and downturns of the economy. In 1974, once the oil crisis hit and the economy was sent into recession, the authorities decided on a course of action. The course they chose was an expansionary one in both fiscal and monetary policies. This course of action helped set the stage for a new type of economic situation called stagflation. Although there was some slight fiscal tightening in 1974, the administration planned on an increase of 8% in gross national product, an inflation factor of 7%, and an unemployment level of 5.5% during 1974. They proposed a budget with an overall increase in spending of 15% to help reach these goal numbers. Increasing the budget, and thus government expenditures, would have an inflationary effect on the economy. It is interesting that they chose to disregard the effects this would have on inflation in order to try to stave off higher unemployment and a contraction in overall gross national product. The government followed an expansionary monetary policy also. The Fed lowered interest rates during two periods in the recession. First, There was a reduction in rates during the period from a high of 10.75% in September of 1973 down to 9% in early 1974. There was a short 5-month round of tightening, followed by a reduction in rates that continued into 1975. By the early months of 1975, the recession had taken on global proportions. Industrial output in member countries of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development had dropped 12% below that level of output in 1973. However, there were signs that things were looking better. The government thought the key to recovery would be to restore confidence in the economy. Thus, the U.S. government, as well as most in the developed world, stayed the course and adopted a further expansionary plan for the economy. In regards to fiscal policy, at the beginning of 1975, the administration's economic goals for the fiscal year were not good news. The inflation rate was expected to be 10.8%, unemployment was expected to rise to 8.1%, and a 3.3% decline in real gross national product. The administration added an additional 15.5% to budget expenditures, resulting in a record non-wartime deficit of $42.2 billion. Many tax changes were also implemented to help. This included a tax rebate for individuals and investment credits for corporations. All of this was done to continue the program of promoting growth to limit rising unemployment. Inflation was to be addressed in the future after the economy was growing again. The trick being to attain real growth in gross national product from increased production, not just increased prices. In regard to monetary policy, once again, the administration seemed to focus on fiscal policy to deal with the situation more than it did on monetary policy. However, what little was done kept with the expansionary goals of the administration. The Fed did continue to lower interest rates into 1975, and they adopted an increase in the monetary supply rate from 5.5 to 7.5% to help with short-term goals of increasing output and lowering unemployment. As can be seen in the graphs, as predicted, inflation continued to grow until well after the economy started to grow again in 1975. The expansionary policies did achieve their goal of growing gross national product, but at the cost of high inflation rates, along with the usual high unemployment associated with recession. The recession of 1973 to 1975 is remembered as the stagflation recession. It brought a lot of attention to the effects that both the oil prices and foreign policy has on the U.S. economy. This is a list of the references that we use to put this presentation together. I'd like to thank everybody for their time listening, and we look forward to your questions and responses in the discussion forum. Thank you.